guys, welcome to another edition of Texans Unfiltered. We are blessed to be joined by Antonio Cromartie. David, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk with me today. I'm super excited to talk to you. I see a potential cornerback one.
Can move very well, can play man-to-man very well.
I think that he is a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes.
He does things that are so amazing, and the competitor in him is just special.
I'm excited, man, and I can't wait to get there. I think it does really fit my skill set.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to this week's edition of Texans Unfiltered. My name is Patrick Storm, and I am joined by my friend and co-host Jair Lopez. Jair, we are in week 1 of football, man. How you feeling about it?
Good, man. Football's finally back, and hopefully we can start off with the right foot against the Jaguars. For
sure. Absolutely. How did you catch any of the game last night?
I had to work, but I heard Brady was pretty much clutch in the 2-minute drill.
Yeah, they left him too much time. Again, typical Tom Brady, man.
Surprise.
Tom Brady. Yeah. So, well, cool, man. We had a good week. I know James and John had a great episode on Tuesday. So now tonight we're going to kind of touch on some things. We're going to kind of go over some of the events of this past week. Obviously, there was a pretty sizable trade that went down, in my opinion, at least, that, I'm sure everybody's heard about. And, we'll touch on some of the other moves that Nick has made so far in the offseason. There's been some really good ones. There's been some really bad ones. He's not perfect, definitely. And then we'll dive into week 1, what we're kind of expecting. And I may ask you about, so just kind of get your brain rolling right now. I might get your season prediction towards the end of the show. So obviously everybody's heard about it this week. The Texans traded Bradley Roby to the Saints. They got back a third round pick in 2022. They got back a conditional 6th in 2023. And they're paying $7.8 million of his salary. So from the outside looking in, your initial reaction, what did you think of the trade?
I was a little bit surprised at first, considering, Roby's contract overall was mostly non-guaranteed after the suspension last year. But heading into week 1, he wasn't going to play, so that wasn't really going to affect the way we schemed the defense against the Jaguars.
Yeah, so I think initially I was kind of shocked, right? Like when I first got the text message the morning of the trade, that somebody was on the move. There had been some talk like, they're going to make some, Nick isn't sitting on this roster, right? He's not complacent with it. And then, started trying to dig into who it was. And then when I get the text of like, I heard it's Roby, and I was just like, holy crap. Like, that's kind of like out of nowhere, right? Like just completely out of left field that Bradley Roby's getting traded. And so one of those things, but it's like, and my response was, everybody on this roster has a price. Everybody, especially with where they're at right now, right? Like, this is a team that, Nick and the front office, ownership, even they can sit back and they honestly think that they know this is not going to be a very competitive team. And so when you get somebody like the Saints calling, who have all of their draft picks and then some for the next couple of years, and it's a situation of, all right, what can the Texans do to better themselves, for the long term, for the future? And if it includes trading, your best corner essentially for a third round pick, but let alone the third round pick alone would have been good, in my opinion, right? Like I was expecting like a 4th or a 5th. I had some conversations with Troy from Texans Cap about it. And when things started turning, it was we were both kind of expecting about a 4th or a 5th. and then things started to unfold, and obviously you start looking at the Saints salary cap situation. They are like hurting right now.
Yeah.
I think they've got, after the trade now, they've only got like $3.2 million to work with this season.
And that's why they released Latavius Murray, because that was the only way they were going to be able to like have a little bit of flexibility, a little bit of wiggle room, considering they still got to pay and project injuries that might happen to the team. So they had to have enough cap space to make it work. And I like the move for the Saints overall because they had 2 third-round picks in the upcoming draft, with one of their executives being a minority hire. So they had 2 third-round picks. So in a way, they kind of had the flexibility to make an aggressive trade, and also considering that the Texans are eating most of the contract for this year, so it was pretty much a win-win move.
Yeah, and you look back, and I know one of the initial points that someone brought up was like the Texans paid $17 million for Brock Osweiler to go play for the Browns, and only got a second-round pick out of that, right? Now, granted, Sashi Brown knew at the time that the Texans were desperate to offload that contract. So $17 million for a second-round pick was a high price to pay. But you look back at this one, and they're paying $7 million. Teddy Bridgewater is getting paid $7 million by the Panthers to play for the Broncos this year, and they got a 6th. So, in my opinion, we're paying almost the exact same amount of money, and we got an additional pick. We got the 6th, plus we got a 3rd. And then next year, the cap savings is tremendous for this team. Like, I don't even know what the final number was. Let me see.
I think it was $23 million for next year, according to Over the Cap.
That's how much they saved by trading him?
Oh no, I'm just saying like total, like cap space.
So after the trade, okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, because let's see. I'm sure it's already been updated. So they did, let's see what 2022, because I know there's still a little bit of dead money. $4.8 million next year. But I think they saved around like $10 million just by trading him for next year. Because they do get a little bit of a cap credit, I believe. I'll have to go back and read up some more on it. But in all, I think the move is a win. I think it's a really good move. I think it's a really good deal for both teams. I think both teams won on this deal. The Saints needed another cornerback. And, you know, the Texans needed to, one, offload a little bit of money, which they're not going to do this year, but dead money doesn't hurt them this year because, let's face it, they're not going to be competitive. And 2, they're thinking long term. Next year, they'll be able to draft somebody in that 3rd round with that pick, or couple that pick with something else and move up if they see a player they like. I like it. I think Nick won. I think Nick won that one.
And that's the thing I like about this move also, is that we got Jimmy Moreland from the Washington football team. I know he was a really good prospect for them, and he got cut. It was just a numbers game for them, and he still has, I believe, 2 years left in his rookie scale contract. So that's a pretty affordable deal for a pretty young cornerback overall, which is kind of where we want to go in the near future.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's all about the long term right now. It's nothing about this year. Like, this year is a wash. I'm not looking at this year anything. I'm looking at the future, and I think that they did a really good job of setting themselves up for the future. So now, I want to touch on this real quick, because this was talked about today. Imagine the bidding. Ryan says, imagine the bidding war that could have been if Nick waited 24 hours, right? So we saw what happened last night. The Bucs lost 2 corners, go down in that game. And then the unfortunate news out of Baltimore is Marcus Peters tore his ACL. The poor Ravens right now, man. They've lost 3 running backs. They've lost a ton of players already in the beginning of the season with significant injuries. So, but yeah, I mean, just think if that would have happened. The Saints, the Bucs, and the Ravens bidding on Roby. You know, because let's face it, Roby's still a good corner, right? I mean, even at 29, about to be 30, especially for the money, he's a really good corner. He's a really good value. It could have been a really intense bidding war out of those 3 teams.
But then again, the way I see it with the other teams, I believe the Bucks and the Ravens are also pretty like restricted with the cap space for
Mhm.
this upcoming year. So would have had to eat in most of the contract. Maybe they would have given us a third and something else, maybe a fifth. But I feel like the main prize would have been a third. And then it would have pretty much depended on if we would have gotten probably a better pick in 2023.
Yeah, see, the Bucks have just over $1 million in cap space. They
Mhm.
have 1,019,000, and then the Ravens have like 3.6 or something like that. So, yeah, I mean, either way, the Texans were going to eat salary with trading Roby away. So no matter what, and be honest, even the Saints are still going to be a pick towards the end of the round, in the third. So I think either way, it's still it would be a late third round pick, no matter what team it was.
Mhm.
So maybe they would have been able to finesse a second. I don't know. Who knows? All right. So some other moves Nick's made. Nick has made a ton of moves, right? I think you have it up to 10 teams now?
9 teams right now.
9 teams.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's done over 25% of the league. That's like unheard of. Like you don't see something like that, right? You see a team make 1 or 2 moves every year. That's really about it. Nick he's dealing. He's building, and he's doing it brick by brick by brick, just like they were preaching in the press conferences earlier in the year, right?
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts? Okay, so they acquire Shaq Lawson earlier in the year by trading Bernard McKinney. They get Shaq Lawson in a 6th, and they trade Bernardic in a 7th. Now Shaq lost out in a numbers game. Really didn't do a good job in the preseason. Looked really just like a generic defensive lineman. There was no flashes, no nothing. Nothing of the Shaq Lawson that we've seen in the past. And then so now they turn around and they trade him to the Jets after paying him $7 million. So what are your thoughts on that trade as a whole?
I feel for the most part it was a net neutral. At first, it was a good trade considering we were probably going to cut McKinney. We were
Mhm.
able to move McKinney for an edge rusher, which we really needed in the offseason. And his contract was pretty much non-guaranteed. But so it was kind of a low risk proposition. But the moment we restructured his deal to open up a little bit more cap space to sign more players, that's where it didn't kind of, I guess it made a turn for the left a little bit, because now we have a little bit more dead money in 2022 and this year. But overall, moving financial stuff aside, I like the fact that we were able to still flip Shaq Lawson for another draft pick, which, as we know of Nick, he's able to use that pick to either select a player, maybe, find the next DJ Reader, the next Roy Lopez in the next draft, or just use that pick to move up, or or take a flyer on a player like Larry Izzo, or a player who might not make who might not make another team's roster, but you still have a chance to bring him in and wait and not risk him getting claimed.
Yeah, I agree. I think I think it's kind of a wash, right? Like I don't think he won it. I don't think he lost the deal. Um, he paid out the money for Lawson. He's gotten 2 6-round picks out of it, and it was a case of, do I keep this guy on the roster and pay him all this money for him to not play and not be productive, or do I pay him all this money, let him go play for another team, get a 6-round pick, and I'm paying another guy that's going to be on the field. That's going to be we're paying this guy too, but in our opinion and in our analysis, we think this guy is going to be more productive. So I think that's the way they went about it. They just money does not matter to them, and that's kind of a refreshing thing, because in years past we've seen guys that have they've had these contracts that have to obviously they feel like they just have to be out on the field. And that sucked, because I feel like that hampered this team a lot, year in and year out. So it's kind of refreshing to see that, all right, look, we screwed up, but we're admitting our mistake fairly quickly here. We're moving on, and we're gonna try to get past it. So, another one that's kind of interesting is John Reed was traded to Seattle for a conditional 7th, and so as far as I know, I haven't seen the actual details on it, but I think they can still get this pick. If he's on the roster, which he is now, he's on the 53-man roster for I believe it's 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So I think if John Reed is on the roster in Seattle for 6 weeks, he's going to get the pick. So that'll be one more in their arsenal, right? Off the bat, that's huge. Like, I don't care either way. Like, he wasn't going to make the team, so being able to find a trade partner for him for one is awesome. And two, potentially getting a pretty much a free pick out of it is, that's a good thing. I think Nick did a really good job on that deal. Regardless of what happens, if he gets cut week 5, reverts back to their practice squad or something like that, they don't get the 7th, is it really a loss? Like, did this team really lose out at anything?
Not really, because we had already kind of, processed everything, and we thought he was going to get cut, and he was going to maybe be claimed on waivers. So just, at least getting something out of nothing, at least getting the chance of potentially getting another draft pick, which we could draft a player, or we could probably, use that pick if it conveys to trade for another player. Take a chance on another player that another team might not want.
Yeah, definitely. I think it worked out. It worked out well. And he's made some other moves. Let me see. I've got your list here. You've got the list. Let's see. Or you sent it to me a while back. All right. So he has traded. All right. We touched on John Reed. We touched on McKinney. We touched on Lawson. We had talked about Randall Cobb in the past. I'm not going to really beat that down. So now he's acquired quite a few people, right? Ryan Finley, Ryan Izzo, Kader Hallman, who they've cut and is now back with the practice squad, or
I think he signed with
no, he signed with somebody else, right?
Yeah, he signed with someone else.
Okay, so Hallman's gone. That sucks. But what did they trade, a 7th for that one?
Yeah, they traded the Chicago Bears 7th round pick for him.
Okay, so not a big deal.
Mm-hmm. He was the
they
Saints.
Got Anthony. It was the Saints.
Yeah,
thanks. They've got 2 of our corners now. Okay. He got Anthony Miller, acquired Anthony Miller, and gave up a 5th for him in 2022. Not a big deal. I like it. I think Anthony Miller is what they're hoping they can get some decent production out of him in the slot and kick return. So I think that's, it's not a bad thing. It's just been a bunch of, like Nick said in the beginning of the season, a bunch of singles and doubles, right? He's had some swings and misses. He's not perfect. I think some of the deals could have gone a little bit better. Let's see. Obviously the Ryan Finley pick, or the Ryan Finley trade, that kind of sucks. You brought him, they traded equal picks, right? Like it was just a 6th round swap or something like that.
They pretty much just swapped places because they traded the 6th round pick for the Patriots 7th round pick. So they moved down a few spots to get a player.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's not a big deal. I mean, it is what it is. They traded a 7th for Ryan Izzo. So it's not like he's trading away high-end capital, right? He's not, he's not trading a 1st or a 2nd away for someone that, it's pointless right now. There's no point in trading away high capital.
And just looking at the trades that he's done, he's received a pick back in every single trade except for Kader Hallman. All the other trades, he's giving a pick, and the other team's giving back a pick. So at the end of the day, we have more picks than what we started off with because every single trade that we've acquired a player, like we swap picks, and then every single player that we've traded away, we've acquired picks. So in a way, we keep on stockpiling picks for the 2022 season and 2023. So
yeah, he's done Yeah, he's done a really good job. Let me go over here. Let's see. Here it is. Okay, so we have our own first, our own second, and our own third. We now have New Orleans third, our own fourth. We don't have a fifth, right? Because they traded that for Anthony Miller.
Yeah, that one goes to the Bears.
Yeah. So, and then we have 3 sixths. So we have our own sixth, the Green Bay sixth, a San Francisco sixth. What the heck do we get the sixth for?
Let me check real quick.
What did we get San Francisco sixth for? Was that last year's draft? Maybe.
That was the pick that they got from the Jets. The Jets sent us San Francisco.
Oh, they sent us San Francisco's pick. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. And then they have Dallas's seventh, which they got from
the Eli Anku.
Eli Anku trade last year that Jack Easterby signed a guy off the street and then turned around and traded him like a week later. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9 picks next year. That's not bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not bad. And then they're projected to have 9 picks in 2023. They have all of their own picks in 2023 and then some. And then obviously the years after that, they have everything still. So he's loading up for the future. I think I think so far so good. Some of the stuff could have been a little bit better, but I'm going to take the good with the bad at this point, given where the team's at.
Yeah, and it's pretty crazy that we could have had more draft picks because we traded the 4th round pick from the Rams to move up and get Nico Collins in this past draft, and we also moved that 5th for Miller. So we could have had double-digit draft picks, and that's the thing. Alike from Nick Caserio, he's pretty much shown that draft picks come and go, but he's been able to acquire more than what he gives away. So that's why I'm not really stressing out whenever he makes a trade, because I know he's gonna get back. He's gonna get back a draft pick in return. Like, he's doing a really good job right now, just managing the draft picks. Like, because that's been the biggest problem since Bill O'Brien took over. He was just giving away draft picks, and we never got anything back in return. And if those players didn't pan out, we missed out on draft picks and we missed out on a player. At least for Caserio, we missed out on a player. We gave up a low draft pick, but we also got a draft pick in return. So that's the biggest thing. Like, we're not really ever digging ourselves into a hole. Like, we're still, in a way, taking a side step or taking a step forward, but we're not going back. And by adding all those draft picks, we're opening up the possibility of us drafting more young players in the long haul, which is really what we want to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like, the guys that are working like in the front office right now have done in my opinion, they've done a really good job. I mean, Nick's up there, Matt Bazergan's there, Lipfert. Yes, Jack Easterby is involved in some of this stuff. I mean, it is what it is at this point, right? Like, and it's, as a collective effort, they're doing a good job. And so I think for the next 2-3 years, they're in some really good hands, and I'm okay with it. I'm excited to see where it goes. I said this a few weeks ago. I know I had said something along the lines of like the hiring or how everything went about was going to be the worst mistake this team has ever made, and they may not recover from it. Obviously, it was very emotional, and I think my opinion has definitely changed. I think they're going to be okay. They're going to recover. We're going to suck for a few years, and it is what it is, man. I mean, we've been sucking for the past 20 years. So, what's 1 or 2 more years, right?
And the thing I like about Caserio overall, he strikes me. I mean, it's obviously very early in the process. He could very much screw things up in the next few years. But for right now, he's just shown to be very open-minded in so many ways. He's been aggressive in the trade market, which I feel like that's always been a plus. But I'm going to kind of repeat myself, but he hasn't really compromised our draft picks of the future in a way. And he also he's just doing everything right. Because like I said in the past, some GMs like Rick Smith or Brian Gaine, they just weren't ever too aggressive making trades. He's shown willingness to do that. He's also always bringing in players to work out, and some of them are, recognizable players that obviously this year it doesn't really matter, but like Dre Kirkpatrick, overall he's a player that most people know around the league. Like he's bringing in noticeable names who in the right fit, at least for this year. Maybe we sign them and then in the middle of the season, COVID happens or there's injuries. We might be able to flip him for a pick, and he might put himself in a better situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And they I think Aaron Wilson made this point earlier that he's the type of player at this point that won't sign until maybe after week 1, just because of the whole vested veteran thing and the money being guaranteed and stuff like that. Probably sign on a vet minimum deal, or just over a vet minimum deal if that's going to happen. And potentially, yeah, like you said, flip him for a pick, let him walk, and maybe get a compensatory pick. Who knows? That's one of those things that the roster is going to be changing. One for sure, the practice squad is going to change weekly. Okay, that's exactly how they did it in New England. Their guys were coming and going up there weekly for the Patriots, so it's exactly how it's going to. I have a feeling it's exactly how it's going to happen here. We got a long time. We got 17 weeks of football, 18 weeks of football ahead of us, excuse me. I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see how it unfolds. I'm excited to see what the future holds. We have some other stuff that's obviously, got to unfold and take place during the season. And I think a lot of people are, they're ready for it to happen. I think this person in particular is ready for it to happen. Deshaun really wants out of here. And eventually it's going to happen. He's not going to wear this jersey again. You haven't seen him out of practice. He won't see him at the games. He's not going to be there. And eventually the right offer is going to come along. Eventually something is going to happen and, he's going to wear another uniform. I think, it sucks. Everything aside, I hate the fact that we're losing a player of that caliber. And as far as everything else, that's, I don't want to talk about any of that just because it's, I don't know enough about it. I don't want to sound ignorant on it. I don't know enough about it to talk about it, but losing a football player of that caliber, the football player of Deshaun Watson, is going to suck, but I think it's going to help this team, build for the future, really. So, Raphael, thank you, man. Texans fan from Brazil. That's awesome. Welcome. Thanks for tuning in tonight with us, man. That's really cool. One more trade. Nervous about a Lonnie trade. Guys, I don't think Lonnie's getting traded. Lonnie's hurt right now. I know y'all saw something. Would you trade Lonnie to Tampa? Heck yeah. Would you trade Lonnie to Tampa Bay for a second round pick?
I would drive him to the airport.
Yeah. If you can get a second round pick for Lonnie Johnson, oh man, do it. Like, what are you waiting for, Juan? That would be incredible. Absolutely incredible. Yeah.
I just feel bad for him overall because he's been catching too many, I guess bad luck because he had to endure the early O'Brien coaching staff that they had him at corner. Then they move him to safety. And then this year, he's finally playing safety his first offseason. And, he gets hurt with a quad injury. And those are normally pretty tricky. The quad injuries, you don't know. It could be a week or it could be several weeks. And hopefully it's short term because he's one of the few young players we have on this roster that's really worth developing.
Yeah, I mean, Lonnie's shown some promise. I feel like, I'm a firm believer in these guys not doing a lot of talking on social media and doing their talking on the football field. And I feel like Lonnie is one of the guys that does a lot of talking on social media and could do a lot more talking on the field. But then again, that's his style, right? Like that's just who he is. I'm a little bit older than some of these guys. It is what it is. So that's just my opinion. Let's see. Joseph, why does Watson hate us? So guys, Watson does not hate y'all. Watson does not hate the fan base. Okay. Watson just does not like how things went down with the GM search, right? Or the head coach search. He was prepared to provide a list with, I'll break it down. All right. We're going to touch on this for 2 minutes and then we're going to move on because I don't want to talk about it anymore. Watson he was upset about how everything went down, right? Cal said, hey, we'll listen to your ideas on a GM. We'll listen to your ideas on a head coach. Do I think Cal should have ever offered that? No. I do not think that Cal should have ever offered that, regardless of the caliber of player is. I don't think that it's in a player's interest to have input on the front office. Maybe on the head coach. Okay. Maybe. Right. Because that's who he's going to be working with the most. Okay. But then, stuff happened and I get it. He went on vacation and he wasn't here when they were doing it, but it's not very hard to pick up the phone and say, hey, like, this is where we're going, right? Like this is the direction we're going. Just wanted to get your thoughts. I think that would have gone a long way. And I think, things could have unfolded a lot differently. There were some backdoor and some back channel shenanigans by Jack on how it all happened. But let's face it, they wanted Nick a few years ago prior to this, right? So I feel like Nick was the guy like all along. And this other stuff was just like a show. They maybe have had some thoughts on hiring somebody else like an Omar Khan. Or one of the guys out of Seattle. And then Jack got nervous. So it is what it is. I think it kind of sucks how everything unfolded, but it is what it is at this point, right? Like Deshaun does not hate you guys. He does not hate his teammates. He does not hate David Culley. He does not hate Nick Caserio. He does not hate Jack Easterby, regardless of what you guys think. Deshaun does not hate Jack Easterby. He just does not like how everything went down. He doesn't even hate Cal. He just doesn't trust him. So that's it. That's the biggest thing is trust. So, Beige, welcome in. Thank you for tuning in again. Thank you so much for all the support all the time, Beige. Back car. Would you trade Tunsil for 2 firsts? Yes. Yes.
I probably would.
Yeah. In a heartbeat. 2 firsts again? Yeah.
I mean, but then you kind of have to consider you're going to have to look for another left tackle.
That's okay.
You think so?
I think so. You would have, over the next 2 years, you'd have at least 4 first-round picks.
Yeah, I guess I would. I mean,
plus you're going to free up a ton of money, right? Mm-hmm. Like, what does that do? Let's see. $17 million just next year in available cap space by trading him. Like, holy crap, that's huge. The year after that, $18 million. That's a lot of money, man. That's $35 million over the next 2 years you can invest in a left tackle. You don't need to go out and pay somebody to be the highest paid left tackle to be on your team. You can go out there and get a guy and pay him $15, $16 million, and he could be, a very competent left tackle. You don't always have to have the best at that position. I get it. But it's nice to have that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to definitely have the best, one of the best left tackles in the game. Answer a few more questions, then we'll dive into week 1. Who is David? What does this say? Who is David Culley going to be outside of a great guy to have with lunch? I think he's a great, like, just listening to those press conferences. That's a guy that's excited to show up to work every day. It's a guy that like has the enthusiasm and the drive and the motivation just to be good at his job. Um, I think he's a guy that's excited to finally be given the opportunity to take the reins and do stuff like that. And I've been talking for like the past 10 minutes, Jair. I know you're not feeling good. But if you want to jump in, please feel free to jump in. I feel like, he's just it's I don't know,
I
he's
think
like the complete 180 of Bill O'Brien.
he reminds me a little bit of Gary Kubiak a little bit.
Yeah.
Like players they like Gary Kubiak. I don't know if you ever listened to the Now What podcast by Arian Foster. He was always
Yeah.
speaking highly of Gary Kubiak, and that's
They
kind of
love him.
what you need right now in a head coach. I mean, someone who's stern when they need to be, but pretty easygoing and just make football fun again. Because sometimes, I mean, everyone knows it's a job at the end of the day. It's a business, but you want to make your job as fun as it can be, and that's what David Culley can do. I mean, obviously, that's not the only reason why he was brought in here. He had other qualifications. He's worked with young quarterbacks. In Buffalo, he's seen good quarterback play. He was also with Lamar Jackson. It depends how much you really want to give him credit for what happened in Baltimore, but he's been around a lot of good coaches, so you have to think that some of it has rubbed off on him, some of the good, concepts or whatever, because he's been around Harbaugh, he's been around Andy Reid, a lot of good coaches, and that also
Super Bowl
shows
winning coaches.
exactly, and he's also been around, and that kind of reflects on his coaching staff. He's so well connected with the real big coaches in the league. He got a really great quarterback coach in Pep Hamilton. Those connections matter in a way. He also got James Campen, who's a really good offensive line coach. And then Lovie Smith, he kind of is what it is, but he's a proven defensive coordinator in the league. So, and there's been some good hires, and part of it has to be because people like him. If people like who you are as a person, they're gonna want to be able to work with you. And as long as you're a good coach, you're gonna attract other good coaches who want to prove themselves and want to make a name for themselves in this league.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think there's so much weight put into who the head coach is and not who the head coach is able to surround himself with, right? Real quick, I gotta brag on the kid real quick while he's here. You guys have seen we broke our wrist a few weeks ago, right? We haven't stopped practicing. We've been practicing baseball every single day almost. Today, he took a baseball to the face. It knocked out his tooth. He was bleeding, crying like a normal kid. He's got the lace imprints. 30 minutes later, we were playing catch again. I'm gonna brag on this kid a little bit.
I wish we had sound effects for something like that, but that's good for him.
Yeah, he's a tough one, man. His lips all swollen up. He looks a little weird right now, but so yeah, I mean, it's just like who he can surround himself with is like a huge thing, and like I don't think there's enough. I don't think that's being talked about enough, right? Like I think he can do. I'm not going to say he's going to do great things, but he can do some really good things, and I'm excited for it. I'm really excited to see what David Culley can do, and I love the Kubiak comparison. I think that's a really good one.
And the worst case scenario, he's already 65 years old. I mean, realistically speaking, how much longer can he really coach? And
I mean, who knows, man?
Because he has a 5-year deal, and just thinking about it, if he sees the whole 5 years, he's going to be 70. So after that, I wouldn't see a long-term extension if he gets to those 5 years as the Texans head coach. So maybe a 1-year, 2-year extension, but this was from the beginning. I think from a looking, down the road, this always seemed like a short-term move until we, got back on our feet, and we kind of like, in a way, kind of rehabilitated our image around the league a little bit.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think it's going to help bring in, some top guys for the, it's going to bring in some talent for the next few years. I think guys are going to look at this place as like a destination they're going to want to come to. All right, so enough of that, guys. Thanks for all the questions and stuff like that. That was, I know we got a little bit off tangent and a little bit off pace. Week 1 is here. 48 hours, 72 hours, not even a little less than 48 hours from kickoff, right? Playing at home, they got the Jaguars, Urban Meyer, Trevor Lawrence, week 1, number 1 overall pick in the draft. Lay it on me, man. What are you looking for in this game? Like, what is your expectation out of the defense first?
For the defense, I mean, just get to the quarterback. I mean, I know we don't have many top tier pass rushers or like the big premier names, but obviously the preseason, you kind of hope it translates to the regular season. But we have enough players that can play complementary football, and just not being selfish, not trying to play hero ball, and like just stay disciplined. And we have players like forgot Jordan Jenkins, we have Jacob Martin, we have Charles Omenihu, we have Malik Collins. We have players who can not win one-on-one reps on a regular basis, but they can do enough pressure as a collective unit, and it helps that they're playing a rookie quarterback. And obviously, he's the first overall pick of the draft. But I was listening to the Deep Slant podcast from the Texans, and just an interesting stat. They said the last number 1 pick quarterback to win the season opener was David Culley. So if history has shown us so if history has shown us anything, is that rookie quarterbacks, especially number 1 draft picks, are going to struggle at least in the first few games. So I feel we got we're off on the right foot playing a quarterback who's inexperienced in this league. And granted, he's the number 1 pick, but it helps that we're the first team. He hasn't really seen too much NFL defenses, so we might be able to take advantage of that and possibly get a win.
That's a really interesting stat. I didn't realize that because so who was the top quarterback last year? I'm just drawing a complete blank. But yeah, that's crazy, man. I didn't think I haven't. You're talking about that's a podcast with like DP in them, right? Yeah. So I haven't listened to that one. I need to get a listen to them. So yeah, I think if they can just get to it was Joe Burrow. Thank you, Beige. I think if they could they don't even have to get to him. Just put pressure on him, man. Like just get in his face, hit him after some throws, welcome him to the NFL. Like I saw all this stuff that he's the most quarterback ready prospect since Andrew Luck and stuff like that. And it's like, man, that's a huge weight to carry for that kid. Because Andrew Luck was just like his trajectory was like he was just going to be so good, right? I don't see that with Trevor Lawrence, man. Like I feel like he had so much help at Clemson that it just made his life so much easier. But yeah, just get in his face and pressure him. Kind of beat up on that offensive line a little bit, and the corners that are going to be out there with King and those guys, they just got to stay in the wide receivers' faces. Although I kind of have some fantasy stuff right now, so I got Laviska Shenault. Kind of need him to put up some points this week, but I think the defense is going to be the game changer this weekend. I really do. I don't think the offense is going to be. I don't think the offense is it. I'm really nervous about the offense, honestly. But so what do you think? How do you think? So we saw Tyrod a little bit in the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think Tyrod does against this Jags defense tomorrow or on Sunday?
Real quick, I was gonna add because for the defense, the only player that's not gonna play from the starters, I think is Kevin Pierre-Louis. I think he's doubtful right now. And
Yeah,
the other players that are out are Lonnie Johnson, obviously Deshaun, and then John Grenard. He might not play with an illness, but it's still to be determined. Can you repeat the question? My bad.
So you're good. We saw Tyrod a little bit in the preseason. Definitely didn't blow us away. There wasn't anything that we saw in the games that was just like, all right, man, this guy's got it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was typical Tyrod. So what does Tyrod need to do on Sunday to help this team? Like, what's the most important thing for Tyrod to do to help propel this team to a W?
I feel like I'm not trying to set really high expectations. I think we know what he is. I kind of brought it up on Twitter, but I think the best thing he can do, not just for the Jaguars game, but for this season, is kind of be like Gardner Minshew in his rookie season. You know, low turnovers, decent touchdown conversion, numbers, and just don't turn the ball over. Drive the football down the field. Obviously, you want them to be effective in the red zone. We have weapons. We have Jordan Akins. We have Farrell Brown. We have Nico Collins. We have Chris Conley. We have big bodies that we could utilize in the red zone. And we also have a decent running game. So I'm kind of interested to see what Mark Ingram can bring, because he's pretty much an approved deal. He's not going to be a long-term fixture here for the Texans, but he was also part of the Deep Slant podcast. He was interviewed, and he said that pretty much he pretty much wasn't used last year, so he pretty much had fresh legs. So if that's the case, and we're trying to actually win a few games this season, I feel, Tyrod Taylor, he's not gonna have to turn the ball over. He's gonna have to, just be who he is. If everything's covered downfield or anything, get the ball and run, get safe yardage. And I feel this game's going to be a very low-score game. I don't think it's going to be a shootout, especially with this Jaguars team that, that's run by Urban Meyer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still not sold on him as a head coach, especially after all the stuff he says in interviews and stuff like that. Like, I don't think he's. I think the college game suits him better. But I feel overall for this game, Tyrod Taylor's gonna have to drive. Obviously, extend drives, but at least put us in field goal range, because I feel like this game's gonna be very a low scoring game, and just let Joey Sly, the new kicker, make those kicks. And it's probably not what the fans want to hear. They probably want to. We probably wish Tyrod went for 4 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, but I don't see that happening. Like, hopefully, maybe the run game comes through, because, like I said, I think in the right situation we have a diverse group of running backs that can do different things.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think the biggest thing for Tyrod is just not turn the ball over. And just manage the game, be a game manager, right? And it's funny you bring up the running backs, right? Like, they've got to go out there and establish the run. All right, so I'm going to read something off the team put out yesterday, and I thought this was hilarious. Okay, I'm trying to find it right now. Let's see.
Was it about the total? Like, they led the league in rushing?
Oh God, yes. Like, I was dying. Like,
yeah.
God, where is this thing? Or was it the PR?
Yeah, it was Texas PR.
Okay, Texas PR. It had me like. I was all right. So their tweet. All right, Texans running backs have combined for 15,103 career rushing yards and 132 career rushing touchdowns.
Man.
Now, this is by active running backs, right? The next closest team is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with 8,550. Like when you could twist stats, right, to fit any sort of narrative, right? Like this is like the ultimate, like we're carrying 5 running backs and look what it's going to give us thing, right? And I was just like, oh my God, man. Like Rex Burkhead, how old is he? He's like 31.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Mark Ingram, he's over 30.
David Johnson
is right there with him. Okay.
Yeah.
Scotty Phillips is the youngest guy.
Mm-hmm.
And who am I missing? Philip Lindsay.
Yeah.
Who had, right? Philip Lindsay, to his credit, he had a phenomenal start in Denver. And then things just, kind of didn't work out. There were some injuries in there and stuff like that. I get it. But it's like, I'm like, y'all can't put this stat out, man. If y'all are going to be carrying 5 running backs that have been playing in the league for 10 freaking years, when there's 3 guys that have been in the league for 10 years, like I would hope that they have that many yards.
Yeah.
So I thought that was funny. I'm sorry. I mean,
it's kind of embarrassing, but it's nice. I wouldn't be too proud of having 3 running backs over 30. Like you would kind of hope, because the running back position, it's a young man's game, and that's where it's always been trending lately. So, but
it's true. It really is, man. It really is. It's there's all that talk about like the running back position is devalued and stuff like that over the past few years, and it's because of there's the anomaly of Derrick Henry, who is getting a little bit older, but is still just churning out yards like crazy. But then again, you look at guys that like Christian McCaffrey has a great season, and the next season he gets hurt and he misses the entire year. Okay. Devontae Freeman had a really good start, fell off a cliff. It happens with all these guys. Le'Veon Bell, he was on a practice squad earlier this week until 2 guys tore their ACL. So I don't know.
It's very hard for running back to age gracefully in this league, because most aren't complete backs. They're either really good, first down and second down backs, but they don't bring that pass catching in third downs and stuff like that. So it's really hard for them to age. And to be honest, the only running backs that, at least last year, that was still somewhat relevant was Adrian Peterson and Frank Gore, but those are pretty much anomalies.
Yeah, Frank Gore is an anomaly, and he's a free agent right now, which is nuts to me. I think that guy should be on a roster somewhere. Adrian Peterson, it's like the dude's up like a robot. He is a lighter and older version of Derrick Henry. Like he keeps going out there and getting it done. I mean, he's all day AP, right? Like that's the reason why they call him that. All right, so final score prediction for Sunday.
I would say 2013 Texans.
2013. Okay, so Sly misses an extra point. Or
2 touchdowns and
2 3-point. Okay. All right. I'm gonna go 21-17 Texans. I think Justin Reed comes up big on a play later in the game. That's gonna be my little prop thing. I think Justin Reed comes up clutch.
Do you think Trevor Lawrence turns the ball over in this game?
Yeah. I think they get to him. And somebody. I'm gonna roll with Chuck. I'm gonna roll with Charles Omenihu. I'm gonna say Charles gets a strip sack. And then I'm gonna say Justin Reed gets the interception late in the game to seal it.
And quick question, is kind of like off topic, but how do you feel about the O-line heading into this game?
I'm a little nervous. About Cannon.
Mm-hmm.
Culley didn't even sound too confident in Cannon's ability this week, right? Like that he's still kind of getting his conditioning back and his legs back. And we've heard of COVID legs before with a couple of these guys that have had it in the past. A guy that missed all of last season because he opted out. So that has me nervous. I'm not worried about the left side. I'm honestly the only spot I'm worried about is the right tackle position. I'm confident in Max. I'm confident in Britt. I'm confident in Titus, and I'm absolutely confident in Laramie. Marcus Cannon scares me.
Yeah.
I hope he proves me wrong, but Marcus Cannon scares me.
And I think there's ways to go, like, to game plan against that. Obviously, Tyrod can, pass the ball, quicker. So, like, the pass rushers can come to him. Or we can use Farrell Brown or, as a blocker to complement Marcus Cannon, help him in some pass pro or some run blocks. Or we could probably we can elevate players from the practice squad twice before we sign them. So we could bring up some of the O line. We have I have the list right here. We have 2 rookies, Green, McCullum, if we need them, and we also have that Patriots guard. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Furhold, I don't know. And also, we got Lane Taylor, but I don't think he's ready for this week. So
no, he would have already been activated if he was.
And if we want to get the run game going, we also got the fullback, Questenberry. So if we really want to, insist on running the ball, so
for sure, I think we'll see a lot of 2 tight end sets. I think, and shout out to Farrell Brown. Farrell Brown is starting, like, coming in as a street free agent last year, getting signed to an extension, and now becoming the starting tight end for this team. That's really cool and really good. Shout out to him for that. And so I think we'll see some of him on that right side to kind of help out. Even if it's a chip, he just goes out there and chips the guy, whoever's on that side, whoever they line up over there. And then, maybe he goes out for a little short pass or something like that.
And quick question. Do you think we're going to have any receivers go for over 100 yards? And who do you think scores?
I think Cooks gets close but doesn't break it. I don't think he breaks 100. And then who scores? I'm gonna ride with Nico.
Okay.
Nico's gonna get a touchdown tomorrow. I think Nico Collins scores the first touchdown of the season for the Texans.
Wow.
All right. And then I think we'll go with Farrow. I think Farrow catches one too.
Yeah.
And then they rush one. I don't know who other running backs. Maybe Philip Lindsay.
Man, I was gonna bring that up because hopefully he looks a lot better. I mean, obviously it was a preseason, but hopefully he looks a lot better than what he looked in the last few games. Because, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you would think that we got a steal on him, but he hasn't looked comfortable running the ball. Maybe
really rusty, right?
Yeah,
looked really rusty. I get it. I mean, I really was excited about that. I really liked Philip Lindsay when he was in Denver, and was excited about the potential of him coming here. And then watching him on the preseason, I was kind of worried. And maybe it's just one of those things where he's trying to get his legs back under him for the season. He's not trying to hit the holes hard. He's not trying to go out there and get hurt. Kind of making a little business decision on it, and then the regular season comes, he kind of turns it on. So who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, but I think this is pretty much a winnable game because I'm pretty high on our special teams. So if we already win that area of the game, we just got to worry on winning the turnover battle. And I think, like I said, I don't think Tyrod's going to turn the ball over too much. So I think this is probably one of the few games this season where we have a legit chance of winning. So we got to take advantage of it because I feel like wins are going to be pretty rare this year.
Yeah. So speaking of that, all right. So hold on, real quick. I want to do this. Quarantine Carpenter Bill's asked, do the Texans keep Tyrod if he finishes with 4,300 yards, 30 touchdowns, 65% completion, and 99 QBR?
No.
What?
No.
You think they let him walk for a comp pick?
I mean, it kind of be like Fitz magic. I mean,
Okay.
if he puts up those type of seasons, you know, maybe they're somewhat possible, but they're not going to be consistent from a year-to-year basis. Like even in his best years in Buffalo, he was barely topping 3,000 yards.
Yeah.
So I don't see him playing his best football with the Texans, especially with this roster. Because back then, even with Buffalo, go ahead.
Yeah, he had better weapons, right?
Yeah.
No, because that was no, because Diggs got there with Allen. Who were his wide receivers in Buffalo though?
Robert Woods was one of them, and Sammy Watkins, and Charles Clay, and LaShawn McCoy.
So yeah, he had some talent. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, wasn't their offensive line like always like a weak point too?
They were pretty much average. I just wish they let Tyrod run the football. I feel if they let him run the football, that would really open up the offense a little bit more.
Okay. But he's always like, if I'm not mistaken, he's always been really good at just not turning the football over, right? Like he doesn't throw interceptions. He doesn't, I don't know about his fumbles, right? Like I know Deshaun had 3 lost fumbles or something like that last year. I think he had 8 total, 3 lost. That's what happens when you run the ball carrying it like a loaf of bread. So I don't know. He could control the ball and keep possession and manage the game. I think the Texans can pull out the win for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Season prediction. Win-loss total.
Let me pull up the schedule real quick so we can like look down the list.
Okay. I have them at 4-13. I have them beating the Jags. Beating the Colts once. No, I just lost I had it earlier too.
I have the schedule right here. If you want to go over it real quick.
I'm pulling it up right now.
Cool.
All right. So we win week 1. We're going to lose week 2 against the Browns. Losing week 3 against the Panthers. Losing week 4 against Buffalo. I think they can beat the Patriots in week 5. It's at home. Rookie quarterback. I know it's Bill Belichick. I had this weird feeling. So that's 2 wins. Call me crazy. No, that's not it. That wasn't the win. I think they beat the Jets. And then the 49ers, for whatever reason, I still have like almost no confidence in them. Like I know that defense is like super talented, right? Like that defensive line is insane. But unless Trey Lance comes out and just starts lighting the world on fire, it's still Jimmy Garoppolo over there. And it's like, I don't trust it. I think those are the 4 wins. Jags, Patriots, 49ers, Jets.
So I got us winning both games against the Jaguars. So that's 2 wins. We're playing the Panthers at home. So I think that's a winnable game. That's 3.
Okay.
Patriots, I think we have a fair shot. We're playing it at home also. So that's 4. Man, I see us having a good chance against the Jets too, but that's 5 wins. And I don't see us, I don't know. Because I could talk myself into us winning like 5 games, 6 games, but I would say 5-12. Because I feel like this team's going to be competitive enough to not get blown out. And it sometimes, home field can dictate the momentum of the game and all that type of stuff. So in most of those games besides the Jaguars game, the away game, those 4 games are at home. And I feel if we have a chance of winning, will probably be in your home turf.
Okay. So you got him at 5-12. I got him at 4-13.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to remember, what did I have him at? I think I had him at last year after week 1. I said they would be lucky to finish above 500. And I was dead serious, and I got a lot of heat for that. People were like, "Oh, it's only week 1. It's the Chiefs." So I'm fairly confident in my thing. So,
but I feel it was so tough last year. I mean, obviously every team was facing COVID, but if you look back on it, all the quarterbacks we played against,
yeah,
like
they had a tough schedule. Absolutely, 100%. I'll give them that. Fired the head coach after week 4. Should have fired him after week 3 when they had him in the office and they sat him down and they said, "We're going to fire you." And then he was like, "No, I'm going to take play calling back. Give me one more chance." And then he just went out there and shit the bed again.
Should have fired him after the Chiefs game in the playoffs, but
they should have fired him after the Colts game a couple years ago.
Sure.
So many times they should have fired this guy and they just never did. So, well, cool. All right, man. I know you're not feeling well. I've got a injured kid I got to go tend to for a little bit before he goes to bed. My computer's about to die. It's at 7%. Any more quick thoughts before we hop off?
No, man, I think we covered everything. Hopefully we win. Like I said, like I'm going to really enjoy every win this season because you never know when it's going to be the last one for this team. But I'm not trying to dampen the mood, but it is what it is.
No, but I think the biggest thing for me this season is just to enjoy football.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just to enjoy football being back, fans in the stands, the atmosphere, the excitement, that right. Like I said several months ago when I stepped away from everything, that I was just becoming a fan of the game again. And I think that was the most important thing for me, was just becoming a fan of football again, being able to sit down and watch a game and enjoy it and watch the sport. Just like I do, like I can sit down and watch a baseball game regardless of who's playing. It could be the freaking Orioles and the Diamondbacks, the 2 worst teams in the league. And I enjoy watching the sport. Same thing that goes with soccer and basketball, not so much. I'm a very casual fan when it comes to basketball. Football, I just became so enamored that the Texans had to win everything. They had to be perfect at everything. And it literally almost drove me freaking insane. And so I want to love football again. I want to love the sport that, I fell in love with so many years ago. Very first game I ever sat down and watched was Super Bowl. I can't remember, but it was when Elway. It was the Broncos' second Super Bowl in recent years. When Elway hit, I'm gonna say his name wrong, Rob Woodson or something like that, for a long pass, like that just like sealed it for me, was that. So that's what I want to get back to, is just watching football and enjoying it and having fun. And I think that's what this fan base needs, man. I think the fan base needs to just love football, right?
Yeah, just have fun. Just have fun with it, because if you're not having fun, then what are you doing?
Yeah, don't put too much into it, right?
Yeah.
What is there? Hold on. I'm going to go back to the website, and people are going to hate me. I know. And Brian T. Smith is so annoying with this on his Twitter, and Rivers is kind of bugging me too. But they keep taking this saying that the Texans have for the season, and it's that football feeling, and they keep trying to like make fun of it. And it's like, there is nothing like being at a freaking football game and just having fun. I went to the Tech U of H game on Saturday, and man, like college football is like a whole nother level, right? Like it's just insane. That, like, just the feeling of being there and watching the teams, and like, U of H comes out and they're hammering away at Tech, and then Tech just climbs back in. They just start like just marching down the field and they start scoring. And I was just like, yeah. Like that's football. And I was excited and I loved it. That's what I want again, man.
Yeah.
That's what I want again.
I've never been to a Texans game, but hopefully this year.
No?
No, never been.
Oh, you got all right. We'll talk to James. James has got season tickets. He's giving away this weekend. I guarantee he's probably going to give away a few more weekends. We're giving you some. We're getting you tickets. You're going to a game this season. Don't
That'd be
quit too
cool.
fast. So, James, if you're watching, you're sending Jair to a game, like for sure. So, let's see here. I was too. My sister-in-law is a freshman at Tech. I've supported U of H for all these years, but now that she's going to Tech, I had to support Tech. So, Tux, I was going for Tech also, so it was pretty cool. Well, cool. All right. You guys go enjoy your Friday nights. Thank you so much for tuning in. We've been hovering around like 50, 55 people the entire stream. I know you guys have better things to do than be sitting here talking to us. Give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe to us on Facebook, or follow the page on Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube. Give the Facebook page or the Twitter page a follow at Houston FB Pod. Go follow Jair, JRLTU. Excellent information all the time coming out of Jair, whether it be where players have played before and who they've played with, coaching and other players and stuff like that. Just all around great content always coming out of Jair, and always really good conversation with them too. Go follow James. Young Ari Gold, or I am Young Ari Gold. John is John A. Wade 3. I'm always really bad at this part. John Wade. Where is he?
I wish we could add graphics to this so we can make it easier for all of us.
We need to get John A. Wade 3 at John A. Wade 3. John is really good. Follow also.
Yeah.
Jordan at Texans_thoughts. I know you guys all know him. Y'all are already all following Jordan. I think he's about to pass 7,000 followers now, and his YouTube is just blowing up. He's working for SI now. Jordan is Hollywood, man.
He's a beast, man. He's a beast.
He is. He's grinding. Mine is at Patrick Storm TU. I'm going to start. I know Jair's probably going to start rattling off some written content too for the website. I'm going to be doing it as well. But also, if you didn't see the tweet the other day, I am going to start writing again for Toro Times. So there will be content there and on our website for myself. So I appreciate any feedback, stuff like that you guys, you guys have. But once again, guys, thank you so much for all the support. Week 1 is here. Football is back. We got 18 weeks ahead of us of really good football and topics to discuss, because now we actually have something to watch. So go enjoy your Friday nights. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see y'all next week. See ya.